What is labor law? Labor law is a system of legal rules that encompasses the relationships among unions, employers, and employees. Like everybody knows, in the time of slavery, freedom to work was nowhere to be found. The situation is completely different today. With the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen in 1789, it is defined that men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Labor law includes the establishment and termination of the employment. According to the labor law, employment is established by the employment contract for a definite or an indefinite period of time, and it terminates with the worker's or employer's death, expiration of the contract, when the worker turns a certain age, agreement of the worker and the employer, entitlement to a disability pension, resignation and decision of the competent court. Apart from that, workers are protected, especially minors, pregnant women and disabled persons. Special decrees apply for each group. In brief, minors have specific periods when they're allowed to work, and the law strictly cares about their health. Pregnant women have the right to maternity leave and cannot be fired while taking it. The law has also regulated working time and annual leave, which means that a worker cannot work overtime and must be given a certain number of paid time-off days per year. An appropriate salary is paid to the worker for his work. According to the regulations throughout the world, men and women are equally paid, although it is not the case in practice. In most sectors, men earn more than women, even though there are cases in which women earn more than men. A minimum wage is the lowest remuneration that employers may legally pay to workers, which is defined by the minimum wage law. 90% of the countries in the world have determined their minimum wages. But different opinions about the benefits and drawbacks of a minimum wage continue to exist nowadays. Supporters of the minimum wage say that it increases the standard of living of workers, as well as reduces poverty and inequality among people, while the opponents of the minimum wage claim totally the opposite. In the European Union, 22 out of 28 member states currently have national minimum wages, while the remaining countries, Austria, Cyprus, Denmark, Finland, Italy, and Sweden, have no minimum wage laws, but rely on employer groups and trade unions to set minimum earnings throughout collective bargaining. With the goal of improving personal living standard as well as job safety, according to the law, workers have the right to found trade unions, to join them and to sign collective agreements that are signed between the trade unions and the state or someone else, for a period that is no longer than 5 years, and every single worker should benefit from the agreement. The Constitution and the law guarantee the right to strike and the freedom of expression to workers. However, the worker has to announce the start and end of the strike to the employer, and the reasons can be non-payment of the entire salary, part of the salary, or the unpaid bonus. In the history, the origins of trade unions can be traced back to 18th century Britain, at the onset of the Industrial Revolution, after centuries of banning trade unions and collective bargaining by British workers. Trade unions were finally legalized in 1872, after a Royal Commission of Trade Unions in 1867 agreed that the establishment of the organizations was to the advantage of both employers and employees. In today's world, the highest rates of union membership are in the Scandinavian countries, where the rates are about 70%. The statutory retirement age varies from country to country. The average retirement age in the 34 countries of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, in 2014 was 65 years for men and 63.5 years for women. Early retirement can be at any age, but is generally before the age or tenure needed for eligibility for support and funds from government or employer-provided sources. However, the tendency all over the world is to increase the retirement age. Except those two types of retirement, there are also disability pension, early disability pension, family pension, the lowest pension, basic pension, professional rehabilitation, and compensation for physical impairment. If a worker gets fired, he needs to register to the employment office, where he receives remuneration for a certain period of time. You have just found out all the most important facts about the labor law and what conditions the workers around the world have. The better you know your rights and duties, the easier your own job will be.